Hi guys, in this video I'm going to cover the French exchange and what black should do against this rather boring variation from white. And in case you're wondering, I was going to show you on this new chess position trainer which I've been using. I highly recommend it. It's very good for training your repertoire, as you can see here. So against white I've got all my things I need to know against white, and then as black I'm playing the French and the classical Dutch, and I can then go on the training section and it starts training me on how well I know the openings. So far I know the classical Dutch 100%, French defense 80% so far. It's because I just put some new lines into it, so I had to go train those. And these ones I haven't doing any training on yet, so that's why they're at 0%. I'll leave the link in the description if you want to go and get the free trial of this program. I do highly recommend it. I think quite a lot of people are using it, quite a lot of master players, and yeah, it's really good for learning your openings. Okay, so e4, e6, d4, d5, and now we're going to look at the exchange variation, which is e takes d5. So obviously black recaptures, e takes d5. And now there's three options for white. You can either play knight f3, bishop d3, or c4. So we'll start with knight f3. And against this, on my old channel, and old French video series, I recommend bishop g4 here. But in this one, new updated, I'm going to recommend c6 straight away. You can't go wrong with c6. The problem with bishop g4 is it can run into some queen e2 check lines, and it's not so great. For black it can be rather complicated. So c6, bishop d3, bishop d6. This is a really nice square for our bishop. Castles, and now knight e7. And the reason knight e7 is a better move than say knight to f6 is because that knight e7 is stopping a rook e1 check, and also after knight f6 there's going to be bishop g5 walking to a pin. If we play knight e7, and now if they decide to go bishop g5, we can just play f6 here. Okay, so c4, we can castle, knight c3, we take on c4, bishop takes c4, and now bishop g4. So already white has an isolated pawn on the d file, and we want to try exploit this. And so by pinning the knight, we're going to end up putting a lot of pressure on this d4 pawn, and maybe even trade it off. h3, bishop h5, g4. This is quite an interesting way for white to play. It's a very aggressive way for white to play. And now after knight e5, black has to be very careful here what he does, because say if he goes something like knight to d7, then f4 is going to come in, and after f4, then f5 is a big threat, trapping a bishop. So we're going to get pretty squashed. So here I just recommend to go to c5. c5 is a really nice way for black to break out. And yeah, as you can see here, I've marked this position as just being equal. So this is another cool thing you can do about this program. You can mark different positions. This is a computer evaluation, and then your personal evaluation you can put there as well. And you can also put the engine in and analyze the position, so on. Okay, so after c5, black has a really nice position, and we are not going to get killed with any f4 ideas. Okay, so after e takes d5, another option that white can try is bishop d3. And against this one I recommend just going c5. This is quite a nice aggressive way to play against the exchange, especially when normally positions are really dull. So playing c5 really sort of lightens the position up. So once again, white has three options here. So we'll go knight f3 first, knight c6, simple development. Okay, and now d takes c5. Queen e2 check is not such a great line. This is trying to be greedy for white. And I think there's a game where Korchnoi played here, bishop e7, d takes c5, knight f6, h3, castles. Now we finally recapture our pawn, and after c3, rook e8, queen c2. A really nice move from Korchnoi here, which is queen d6. And well, the reason this is such a nice move is because here black could walk into some annoying pins after bishop g5. So he goes queen d6, walking out of any pins, and now straight away he's threatening to go queen g3 in this position, because the bishop pins this pawn to the king, and after queen g3 there's going to be all sorts of bishop takes h3 tactics. So knight b d2 is played, now queen g3, and now white's in a lot of trouble. He's actually losing in this position. Yeah, obviously the queen can't be taken, as I said, bishop take because of the pin on the king, and now bishop takes h3 is a big threat here, and then just queen takes g2 is going to checkmate. So in the game, white played bishop f5, and after rook e2, he resigned a couple of moves later. So as I've marked here as well, it's a big advantage for black. So queen e2 is not such a great option for white, and they can't get greedy in this sort of position. So d takes c5 straight away. Against this move we can just recapture. Bishop takes c5, castles, and a similar idea is go knight e7, knight g7, and say against c3, castles. Bishop may come to g5. We can always kick it. Bishop has to go back, and knight bishop into g4. And now we're going to play something like knight e5 next move and put a lot of pressure on this f3 pawn. And a general rule of thumb, when you do have the isolated pawn, so here in this position we're playing with the isolated pawn, you want to keep on as many pieces, you don't want to start trading off pieces. So just because if you exchange off a load of pieces and go into an endgame, then black will probably end up a lot worse here. Because he has just got this isolated pawn, and it could become an easy target. So yeah, definitely keep as many pawns on as possible in these sort of positions. Okay, so after c5, another option for white is to play c3 here, knight c6, knight f3, bishop d6. Okay, now white takes, so now we've had to play two moves just to recapture, and similar to the other position, it's a very simple position, knight g7, so my bishop g5, might be playing this castle, oops, not that one, so f6, and then bishop g4, so very similar to the last position we looked at. So I do recommend you play the c5 idea against bishop d3. So the last thing we need to cover is c4. Okay, so c4 is the most aggressive way for white to try and play against, or play the French exchange, and to really try and go for a win. Okay, so knight f6, knight f3, bishop b4 check, knight c3, and now we castle. So we want to get our rook to e8, check, bishop e2. Okay, now we can take on c4. We only want to take on c4 once white's moved his bishop to either e2 or d3. Because then white has to spend two moves taking back here. Bishop e2, so he's played one move with the bishop, we take, and now he has to take, so now he's just played two moves with that bishop. Okay, now we go bishop g4. Once again, white has the isolated pawn here, and we want to put a lot of pressure on this pawn. Immediately we're threatening to try take here and then take on d4. Okay, castles, knight c6, putting even more pressure, now it's two moves white can play, either bishop e3 or bishop g5. So like bishop g5, we just kick the bishop back to h4, and then just bishop e7 is quite a nice, quite a nice move here, just getting out the pin and preparing to take on d4 next move. And the other option for white is say bishop e3, and now a really nice move I like here is just rook b8. And okay, so the idea of rook b8 is if we take here, and then allow queen takes, and then take the pawn, this isn't quite working because now after queen takes b7. I'd actually say that white has a slight advantage here. So the reason we play, delete that. Okay, so the reason we play rook b8 in this position is to protect this pawn. Now we really are threatening to take on f3 next move and take on d4, and also this rook move could become useful in the future, maybe with b5 ideas. So okay, so bishop e2 was played, and now just something like knight d5, and yeah, this is at least equal for black, and he can, since I mentioned earlier that rule of thumb, we want to try to trade off pieces. Since white has the isolated pawn here, we can just win it in the end game, just be a whole pawn up in the end game, and yeah, it really gives us a great winning chance. Okay, so that was everything on the French exchange. The next video will be on the other sidelines, so I'll show you here all these D3, B3, knight F3 ideas from white. That video shouldn't take too long to do, and then we should have the whole French series complete. So I'll see you guys next time. Thanks for watching.